Conversations with clients is really one of the best parts of what I do. I love talking with my clients and hearing their stories and helping them deal with issues that they may be facing. I really do enjoy that part of what I do. Great two-way conversations between an advisor and a client are essential to that relationship. So on today's show, we're going to talk about some of the essential conversations that should come up when you're talking to your advisor.
It's time for the My Retirement Clarity Podcast with Lee Perkins, financial planner and president of J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. Get ready for a good dose of inspiration, simplicity, implementation, and of course, clarity on how to successfully prepare for retirement and grow and preserve your wealth. Here's Ben George with Lee Perkins.
Well, glad to have you here on My Retirement Clarity alongside Lee Perkins, owner and financial advisor at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. I am Ben George. Today we're going to play a little bit of financial fill-in-the-blank, Lee. We're going to take some, kind of key advisor and client conversations you have on a day-to-day basis and let you kind of fill in the blanks to some of these financial statements we're going to throw your way today.
Yeah, this will be fun. I always enjoy a good fill-in-the-blank crossword puzzle, Sudoku or Sudoku, however you say that word. So this will be fun. Yeah,
it will be fun. So we'll do that today as well. So it'll be a fun show, and I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. But we're going to put it up online afterwards at myretirementclarity.com. But also, if you want to schedule a meeting with Lee, the best way to do that is talkwithlee.com. All right, I want to start off with a little bit of a headline, Lee, before we jump into today's conversation. I know there's a lot going on in the news that affects us financially, and there's one piece of news out in San Francisco. They just passed this ordinance that suspended the city's cannabis tax in order to help marijuana dispensaries to better compete with drug dealers who, of course, are not paying any taxes. If they can figure this out, why can't they figure out that taxes should be lower on everything, right?
Right. This is really, to me, it's a funny story. You would think that they could recognize the economics involved here with the cannabis situation and apply that to the other industries, not only in San Francisco, but in the whole state. But the problem here is that there's not really an underground market for a lot of the other goods and services that are produced by the companies that are in California. Taxes are a big deal for businesses, and they want to go to states that are a little more tax favorable. And I think that's why you're probably, you'll continue to see more businesses flee California. I think it's a poorly run state from an economic standpoint. The taxes are incredibly high, but there's a lot of folks who live there and love it. Weather's great, beaches are great, and that's, there's a lot to do there. I talked to an advisor last summer who actually lives in San Francisco, and I said, why in the world would you stay there? And he said, it's simple. He said, money grows on trees out here. And so for him, being in an area that's got a lot of high net worth individuals, it's worth the higher taxes. And what I view as the backwards government of California, he said it's worth it. Now, the whole, the drug dealers not paying taxes, I just think that's an unintended consequence that they probably didn't think through. But we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting to see what kind of impact it may have in other industries, not just the cannabis industry.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Little headline that kind of came across our desk. So wanted to share that with us as we jumped into today's conversation. So it is financial fill in the blank. Again, these are some kind of key client conversations that Lee has with people over at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. So we're going to present him here on the show and let him fill in the blank for us. So number one here, Lee, the best way to be sure you don't run out of money in retirement is to what?
I would say the best way to make sure you don't run out of money is to know what you spend every month. And I'm not saying you have to do a detailed budget every month. I think most of my clients have reached a point in their lives that they don't have to budget every month. But I do think it's important that you know that you're living on less than you make or less than you bring in every month. People that run out of money do one thing. They simply spend without believing that there are consequences to their spending habits. I've been doing this 15 or 16 years, and I've had 2 clients actually run out of money. I had what I call intervention meetings with both of them on multiple occasions. But in the end, they actually both ran out of money. And one of them I actually resigned as their advisor way before they ran out of money. And I told her I wasn't going to be a part of a sinking ship, and that's exactly what she wound up doing. Now, there's a lot of moving pieces there. She was intent on giving some money to an online romance person that I told her was a scam. Met with the sheriff and the Better Business Bureau, and they all told her she was going to lose her money, and she just insisted on doing it. So, I resigned as her advisor, and she ultimately ran out of money, gave the guy a lot of money. And, people just, I don't know, sometimes people make bad decisions, and overspending is a bad decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make mistakes with money, whether it's acting emotional or whatever it might be, and that's why it's always great to have someone on your side that is looking out for your best interest and trying to help you get to that long-term financial independence. All right, number 2 here. How about this? The stock market has the ability to blank.
Make smart people make bad decisions.
That's true.
We're seeing that right now. As we record this, we're in the midst of a 4-day slide. Everybody loves making money when the stock market's going up all the time, but it's easy for us to get a little bit spoiled. We hadn't really had an extended downturn in quite some time. I know we went through the coronavirus with a quick downturn there, but a lot of people were concerned more about health and things like that. So, the nervousness happened in such a quick period and the rebound happened. But in an extended period of time where fear and doubt starts to set in, they start listening to the gurus on the financial media, all these people that are telling you that we should do this or we should do that. And I think really one of my main jobs as an advisor to all of the families that I serve is to try to provide perspective and really to keep them invested, because the temptation is just to bail when things are dropping. And so when this happens, you're selling low, which is the exact opposite of what you should do. So remember, the goal is simple: uninterrupted compound interest. That's the key. You got to remain in the market.
Yeah, the market's been crazy the last couple of years, and doesn't seem like it's gonna be any smoother probably in the near term. Who knows though? That's the key. You just never know with the stock market. All right.
Right.
If your advisor tells you blank, Lee, you should run the other way.
All right, this is an easy one. If he tells you he can predict the stock market, you should run the other way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these folks are out there, and they get a lot of people to take the bait because it sounds real. I mean, it sounds good. And there's a whole industry that's been built on people that say they can successfully time the market or predict the market or tell you what's gonna do in the future. I would also add in, if an advisor promises you that they can get you a certain return every year, that's a sales pitch. Run away from this person. Don't walk. Run from that person, because you can't guarantee returns. It's on all the disclaimers and everything that you sign for everything. I don't know how people get away with it, but it happens. So don't engage with these people.
Yeah, and even like when you say predicting the stock market, I mean, that could even just say, you probably even mean just like if they could say, I can get you 10 or 12, 15% returns guaranteed, like that's still like trying to predict what's going to happen, right?
Oh, it really is. I mean, there are some years you will get 10 or 12, 15, 20, 25% return. It does happen, but for somebody to say that that's going to happen every year, they can't do it. It's like I say on the show all the time. The people who can predict the stock market successfully every year are called liars. It sounds kind of harsh, but that's what it is.
Right. Yeah, no question.
Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know how much I hate taxes, and I know you probably do too. Our politicians are completely out of control. Their spending is off the chart, and you've got to be prepared for increasing taxes in the future. So we've written a book called Diffuse: 7 Steps to Protecting Your 401k or IRA from the Ticking Tax Time Bomb. You're going to want to grab a copy of this book and learn how you can protect yourself. Then you'll have to decide if you want to take action right now, or if you'd rather wait until the IRS changes the rules of the game. Either way, the choice is yours. To get a free copy of the book, just text the word DIFFUSE to 478-475-2050. That's DEFUSE to 478-475-2050. And we'll send you a free copy. Thanks again for listening. Now back to the show.
All right, we're playing financial fill in the blank. These are some key conversations that Lee has with his clients. All right, when somebody comes to visit with you for the first time, they're most likely to be worried about blank.
I'd say they're most likely to be worried about whether or not they've done enough for retirement. Usually by the time somebody comes to see us, they're the fourth quarter of their working career, maybe only a year or two out, maybe 3 years out. Sure, there's a little bit of time to make some adjustments or last-minute changes to help them be better prepared. But what most people want to know is, can they retire? And can they retire in the way that they want to? Retirement is not easy. There's a lot that goes into it and a lot that goes into preparing for successful long-term retirement. And so we take them through our process. We try to look at, their situation and discover where they are right now. Then we design a plan to sort of put them on the right track, and then we set that plan in motion. And then after that, we want to send our clients off to dream, go fulfill that dream retirement that you've been working for. So that's it. People want to know that they're going to be okay, and unfortunately they don't know what all they don't know, and so that's why we go through this detailed process with our clients.
Very good. All right. The most common mistake that you see retirees and pre-retirees making is what?
I would say putting too much emphasis on their investment plan and then neglecting all the other pieces of retirement. That's the common one that I see. Somebody comes in and I start asking questions, and I'll say, well, tell me a little bit about your situation, and then they'll hand me an envelope that's got their statement in there. Again, the financial media talks all day about this stock or that company or whatever the new shiny object is, the next Amazon or Apple or Bitcoin or pot stock. And these things get ingrained in our mind, and we think that that's the most important thing. We always hear people say that lottery tickets are sort of a tax on poor people because poor people think this is really their only way out. And the lottery gives them that false sense of hope. But I would argue that what the financial media feeds us every day does the exact same thing to people who aren't poor. Most financial advice that's out there is about today, what you should do today, right now, what stocks you should buy, what's a good buy right now. But most of the time, today is simply not that important when it comes to investment and retirement planning. So think about this. When was the last time you heard Jim Cramer or anybody else on TV giving planning advice to a widow? Mm-hmm. You won't, because that's not his game. It's not his motive. Ben, I've had 3 clients in the first 20 days of this year, 2022, lose their husbands.
Wow.
3 wives lost their husband in the first 20 days. And none of these ladies have asked me a single question about a holding in their account or what their account performance has been over the last 3 or 6 months.
Wow.
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's way more important things to deal with than what is inside of that statement. So, that is probably one of the most common mistakes that I see, is an overemphasis on their investment and an underemphasis on everything else.
I gotcha. Very good. All right, we got one more here in our financial fill in the blank. The most gratifying part of your job is blank.
Man, I would say that this is really probably 2 of them. The first one, I'd say maybe meeting with somebody for the first time after they've been retired for a couple of months. They're always so grateful at the role we played in helping them get there, but just seeing their eyes light up when they talk about what fills their day, that's really rewarding. I think they tell me the number one thing that they've underestimated was the time that they've got to do whatever it is that they want to do. Time freedom is really a good thing. Now, a lot of them wind up getting busy in retirement, and they eventually have to learn the word no, because once people learn that you're retired, you get volunteered for a lot of things maybe that you didn't really volunteer for, because people think you don't have anything to do. And that's hardly ever the case. Retired people will tell you they don't even know when they had time to work. So seeing somebody who's just retired is really gratifying. And I would say another gratifying thing is meeting with somebody leading up to retirement and giving them permission to retire. And I'm not talking about giving them permission like a parent gives a child permission go to a movie or whatever. I'm talking about letting them know that, hey, the plan's in place. You can actually do this. Seeing their eyes light up in that situation too is very, very rewarding. So yeah, that's two that I would say that's really cool parts of this job.
Well, that's awesome. These are all just some kind of key things that you're discussing day to day with clients and what you can expect to discuss with your advisor, whoever that is. But if you want to ask Lee any questions, the best thing to do and the best place to start is at talkwithlee.com. And Lee, when somebody goes to that website and gets on your calendar, what can they expect from that first meeting?
Yeah, so that first meeting is really it's a 15-minute phone call. Sometimes it's 5 or 10 minutes, but we don't spend more than 15 minutes on that phone call. And really, what that is me trying to figure out what challenges that you face and what's the anxiety level that you face when it comes to your financial situation. Because I want to learn enough about that to determine whether or not I can add value. And the way I add value is we'll determine whether or not it makes sense for you to come into the office and sit down and go dig a little bit deeper into your situation. So that's it. There's obviously no cost or obligation for you to have an in-person meeting with me. But that 15-minute phone call, I do those all the time, and people are really, really appreciative of that. And you'll walk away from that call with answers to some of your most pressing questions. And that's what I want to do, is help put people in a better position.
Very good. Well, Lee, we want to also remind people too, your ticking tax time bomb book offer that you offer people too for listening to the podcast. Yeah.
So this is a great book for people that have listened to the podcast for a long time. You've heard me talk about this many times, but it's just a short book that we wrote just to help people learn about taxes and what we call the ticking tax time bomb. It's an easy read. It gives you some actionable items that you can take right now to protect yourself for increasing taxes in the future. So if you want a copy of that book, the number to get, just text the word diffuse, DEFUSE, to 478-475-2050. That's 478-475-2050. Just text diffuse to that number, put in a good address, and we will mail you a copy of that book. No charge.
Awesome. Well, we do appreciate it, Lee, everything you do for us and kind of walking us through a lot of these financial conversations that you have every day, but hopefully it helps educate people. And if you listen to this episode and you've enjoyed it, please hit subscribe on the podcast too. We'd appreciate that. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever it is you listen. And we put every episode up online at myretirementclarity.com.
Yeah, Ben, I would say we've had some people leave us some very nice reviews over on Apple Podcasts. So if you get a chance and you've listened to the show for a while, give us a 5-star rating and maybe leave us a review. We'd appreciate that. That helps other people find our show.
Absolutely. All right, Lee, we got to get out of here. We do appreciate you as always. And again, we have a new episode coming in a couple weeks, so please hit subscribe. And Lee, we'll talk to you then.
Thanks, Ben.
Investment advisory services are offered by J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.